Hello, good morning guys, this is Dr. Fix. In today's video we have a very interesting edition that looks very greenish like the papaya that you can see behind me right there, and we're gonna be going over it now. I'm actually remaking a lot of my video here because YouTube is very hard on me right now. Community issue, policy issue, I'm facing a whole lot of them right now, and it's really tough for me. So the best way you guys or my new viewers and my active viewers and my subscribers are actually going to help me, for non-subscribers who are going to help me on this, is actually to subscribe to my channel, share this video, and give this video a thumbs up, because I'm going to be giving you a top 10 symptoms of a bad map sensor. So without wasting much of your time, let's get to it. So the first thing first, what is map sensor? Map sensor is manifold absolute pressure sensor. That's very simple. A lot of people can actually define it, but what does it actually do? That is where a lot of mechanic chickened out and feed you garbage. But here I'm going to be feeding you the raw information which you might never have come across before. So the manifold absolute pressure sensor works similarly, almost the same way with a MAF sensor. But here is the detail, right? Most engines that are not fuel stratified or gasoline direct injected are equipped with MAF sensor. And you can see that that's why you see a lot of MAF sensor in Toyota. But if you see some sort of Mercedes or VWs and Peugeot, you're gonna be seeing more of MAP sensor, right? Though it's not all of them that are equipped with MAP sensor that are direct injectors. Some of them are still indirect injected, where the injectors are injecting fuel straight into the inlet manifold. So what this guy does inside the system, before I start to go ahead to tell you what this guy does, is let me show you where you will often find the map sensor. Let me flip the camera. Okay, here is the map sensor. So most of the time you're going to be finding it on the inlet manifold of the engine. The map sensor is actually designed to meter the amount of pressure, and that pressure we're talking about there is the chunk of air that goes inside here that creates that pressure, amount of pressure that is inside here. So that pressure uses that same pressure to know the right fuel quantity that's going to match up with it to contribute to make up 14.7 part of air to 1 part of fuel, which is actually going to be using to create a combustion in your engine. When these parts go bad, a lot of things start going, like which I'm going to be actually naming here. So the first symptoms you're going to be noticing when your map sensor is bad is check engine light on. A check engine, like I previously said in the other video, there is whenever anything that triggers a check engine light is actually relating to you, telling you that look, it's something that is related to the drivetrain. The engine, the gearbox is also within the drivetrain region. So it's something related to the engine that needs an attention. If it's flashing, it needs urgent attention. But if it stays there, then it's telling you that this thing is bad. You can go ahead and check it anytime, but anytime sooner. All right. So the first thing there is check engine light when it starts giving incorrect data. And there is some other things you have to understand. The map sensor have intake air temperature sensor inbuilt also. So it will be throwing a code related. You'll be finding a code like a P014 something like that. That's which is about code related to air intake temperature sensor being bad. So when you're looking for it, don't look any further because it is right here. The second symptoms of a bad map sensor is you're going to be having a fluctuation of idle in your car. When you step into your car and you start your car, you're going to be seeing this idle, this RPM needle going up and down. When you start seeing that needle going up and down, there is every tendency that your map sensor is not doing its job. The best way to rectify this problem is to scan the car and look for code related to map sensor. If you find any code related to map sensor, then you go ahead and check for the connectors and make sure that the connect damage. The pins that are connected to these sensors are not bent. This very connector here, and if suppose they have any mechanical damage there that disrupt the wire from connecting perfectly with this very map sensor, you go ahead and do it go ahead and get it fixed up. That could actually be the problem, not the MAF itself. The third bad map sensor is too much fuel consumption, poor gas mileage. It does that also because it has inside the intake air temperature sensor. So when it goes bad, it feeds a wrong signal into the engine. It miscalculates the chunk of air that flows from here and go in here. And when it miscalculates that, the stoichiometric ratio of 14.7 part of air to 1 part of fuel will be messed with. We'll be having something like let's say like 10 is to 1 or 5 is to 1. Then you'll be having a huge drop in the fuel economy. Number 4 symptoms of a bad coolant temperature sensor is a very dark thick smoke coming out of your tailpipe. When this guy here that is called a map sensor start throwing a trouble code or start giving a forceful information to the ECM, it throws the stoichiometric ratio out of balance. And when it throws it out of the balance, this guy right here, there is every tendency that even the air intake temperature sensor that is there is also bad when it starts throwing those trouble codes. So the both of them are very shit show when it comes to fuel economy or the right fuel quantity being injected into your combustion chamber. So if you start seeing a black smoke out of your tailpipe, this could likely be the problem. And also, before doing that, also before condemning this one here, you want to make sure that there is no any leak in this intake manifold, because if there is some sort of air going in from here, it's going to actually be calculating on metered air going inside your engine, and it's going to be reading concluding that putting some sort of error code related to those and feeding the wrong information to the ECU, because it's not going to calculate exactly amount of fuel, amount of air that is present within this very system here. The number 5 symptoms of a bad map sensor is that the car starts and dies. With that said, the simple test to actually know that a map sensor is in a very good condition is when you start the engine, then you go ahead and grab this guy right here. When the car is on idling, if you remove this very socket from here, the connector from it, and the car shuts off, then that's to say that this guy here, not only the map sensor but the air intake temperature sensor are working as they should. But if they continue to work while you get your hands off this, then there is every problem. There is a whole lot of problem in this map sensor that is not just giving you that, because the engine is supposed to shut down. So one way to actually figure out if suppose your map sensor is bad, if suppose you don't have a scan 2, but if you have a scan 2, it should throw a trouble code related to map sensor, and technically speaking, it's going to narrate that as load detection. All right, so when you hear any some sort of language like load detection or map sensor, some car make, depends on the car make and model, they have their own kind of different description. Then you go ahead and replace that map sensor there, and make sure you replace it with the right parts number, else it's going to be worse than it was previously. The number 6 symptoms of a bad map sensor is hesitation upon acceleration. That's some sort of a poor acceleration response, poor throttle response. When you're stepping on the gas pedal, the car is some sort of hesitating, it's not snap, it's not sharp in moving. Shows that there is something wrong inside your engine. So there is a lot of things that can actually contribute to that, like suppose the throttle pedal response, throttle pedal is not in a good condition. It's actually going to make that happen, right? If suppose you don't have a very good amount of fuel in your gas tank, is actually going to make that happen. But what you need to do to actually figure this out is you use a scan tool to scan for it. If you scan it with other symptoms which I've shown above, and if you find a code related to map sensor, you should know that that is exactly where your problem is. Don't ignore it. The 7 symptoms of a bad map sensor is engine underperformance. You know already that when you start having a rough idle, when you start having a surging idle, when you start having a black smoke coming out of your tailpipe, when you start having a poor fuel economy, then you should have it right there at the back of your mind that there is something more worse coming up, which is the engine underperformance. If the engine started underperforming, this guy can be the cause, because this guy is not only limited to actually giving just some of these symptoms which I gave you right now. There are more of symptoms which is actually going to be throwing, including inconveniencing the engine. And how it does that is that when it starts messing up with the air-fuel ratio, there's going to be a lot of too much fuel being added inside the system, which is not actually helping to create a perfect or a great combustion as engineered. And when that happens, then your engine is going to start losing its power and start underperforming. So when you start having an engine underperformance, you want to make sure that you scan your car and check for any error code related to this. And if you find it, go ahead and replace them. The 9 symptoms of a bad map sensor is a black smoke coming out of your exhaust. Now, we've talked about a drop in fuel economy, a surging idle. When you start having a bad fuel economy and you look at this, maybe you're not paying attention a lot. If you're paying attention a lot, there is a lot going on, which is the car is dumping more fuel than the car can burn. I mean, the ECM is using the wrong information. This guy is feeding it and dumping more fuel that is not burning completely. And when that happens, you're going to be seeing a lot of black smoke coming out of this tailpipe right here. So when you see something like, when you start seeing a black smoke out of this very place here, and you're losing a lot on, you're becoming of the people who sell gasoline, then that's not a good sign. You want to go ahead and replace this guy. If suppose you find any code related to this guy and you check the pins, you check the connectors, and there is no any problem in the wiring harness, none of them is broken, none of the signal wire is lost, you go ahead and replace this guy if you find any code related to that. 10 symptoms of a map sensor is engine backfire. If I create this scenario of a bad map sensor right now and I step on the gas pedal, you're going to be hearing boom, boom, tap, toop, tap, toop, tap, toop. You know, like as if it's rapping or some kind of speaking in tongues. When you start seeing your car making that kind of noise or backfiring, you should not only think that no, it's other related stuff like a retard timing or a defective fuel pump that's actually causing those. I'm gonna get to that later. The only way you can keep a track on knowing is by subscribing to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Remember what I told you at the contents of this very video here, guys. Now you know the top 10 symptoms of a map sensor. So if you have a problem, if your car started exhibiting any of these symptoms which I talked about, and you found other codes that are not map sensor, well, do not ignore it. I think the 11th part of the last one, which I'm gonna be using to round this up, is 11th part of symptoms of a bad map sensor is your car failed emission test. This is actually one of the emission control component. So if you're trying to go for emission test or smoke test, you want to make sure that you scan your car. Don't be too fast to clear the error code without solving any problem that the engine electronics have actually triggered due to a defective component. If you find this guy here, go ahead and replace it, because this small little stuff will not allow you to pass your car emission successfully if it is bad. I remain Dr. Fix. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If this doesn't solve your problem, kindly drop me a message in the comment section. I'm gonna respond to you as soon as possible. Bye for now. Subscribe to my channel. I'll see you later.